Alright guys, so today I'm going to be going over 11 tips for a first-time traveler to Thailand. So I'm going to be going over some information today that I wish I would have known before going out to Thailand. And yeah, hopefully some of them you can find used to. So up at number 1, we have the return ticket. So I found some conflicting information online regarding whether or not you needed a return ticket when flying into Thailand. So I went ahead and bought one, and it ended up being a huge mistake because it wasn't needed. And I actually only got a partial refund for my flight, even though I gave them 2 months notice. So yeah, keep that in mind. While you do need a return ticket on flights, say to Philippines, in Thailand, they're a little bit more relaxed because A, I think they need the tourist money more, and B, you have multiple outs to other countries. You can, you know, drive into Laos or Myanmar or something like that. So yeah, I definitely wish I would have known that. Okay, so at number 2, we got hostels and bookings. So for the first month of my trip, I had everything planned out. Hotels, hostels, locations, stuff like that. And I learned real quick that it was unnecessary and kind of a buzzkill. There's pretty much last minute accommodations wherever you go. And by booking a spot in advance, you're kind of committing to a spot that you don't even know if you're gonna like. So that was kind of the problem. And that, and just not being as free. Because you know, you'll end up meeting a ton of cool people and maybe want to travel to another island with them or stay longer on the island that you're at. And if you've already committed to a spot, you're kind of blowing it. So for example, at Koh Lanta, I had committed to 2 days stay there, and I ended up really enjoying Koh Lanta, so much so that I wanted to stay an additional 2 or 3 days. So I ended up eating the cost of where I was supposed to go next, which was Railay Beach. So pretty much after that, I learned my lesson, and I never did bookings in advance. I always go from spot to spot. I'll book out a spot for 1 to 2 days when I first get there just to have something, but then beyond that, I don't have anything booked out. So it's definitely cool to not have any schedule or agenda, just go with the flow. Alright, so up next we have Thai SIM cards. So pretty much Thai SIM cards are really easy to acquire. You can get them straight at the airport when you get off. I wouldn't recommend getting them off the airport because they're going to be a little bit more expensive in prices. If you can, hold out and wait till you get to a shopping mall or a retail store, and you'll save some money. So for me, I ended up going for AIS for my provider, and so far I really like it. It's high speeds, it's super cheap, service everywhere. I got a 4 megabyte per second plan, unlimited, for a month for 500 baht. Plus 50 baht for the SIM card. Once you pay for the SIM card, you don't have to pay for that again. So it's just another 500 baht top-up fee, which is really cheap. As far as other brands to choose from, I haven't really experimented because I've always been happy with AIS. I'm sure you could get even better prices if you looked around, but you might lose out on some service and speed. Alright, now we have food. It's pretty common to get some form of diarrhea out here. I'm just being real. It can sometimes take a few weeks to adjust to the new diet, getting used to all the different types of food and spices and sanitation. Aside from this, it can be pretty difficult to get vegetables in your system. They do mix them into curries, fried rice, and stuff like that, but it's usually pretty minimal. Especially if you're like me and you usually eat large portions of vegetables a day. But if you do feel weak or like you're lacking nutrition, this next one is for ya. 7-Eleven, baby! So you can tell a true traveler that's been out here a while by their praise of 7-Eleven. It's got most things 7-Elevens have back in the States, but with a slight Asian twist. And these 7-Elevens are literally everywhere, on every block. They've got toasted sandwiches, ham and cheese that are really good, cup of noodles, all your drinks, Gatorade if you're hungover, random pharmacy things, all the shit you need to get back into shape. So feeling a little food poison, maybe got some diarrhea, head on over to this 7-Eleven. Okay, so this next one is kind of small, but it is definitely good to know, and that is that restaurants will charge you for water. You usually do not get free water anywhere you go, and the charge, although it's small, can add up over time, especially since you'll be eating at a lot of restaurants, or at least I do. Usually you can expect it to be anywhere from about 15 to 30 baht, which is, you know, 50 cents to $1. Sometimes less if you go to a cheaper spot, and for sure you can get bottled water at 7-Eleven beforehand or something like that and bring it in if they let you. It's like 6 baht at 7-Eleven, so really cheap. If you're eating at a more expensive restaurant, those $1 waters add up over time. You know, you're doing that 3-4 times a day. Okay, up at number 7 we got the shitters, ladies and gentlemen. So this one I got used to relatively fast, but I could see some people having issues with it. That is that you will have to spray your asshole with a little sprayer. Basically, septic systems in Thailand do a poor job of processing the toilet paper, so they do not allow you to flush the toilet paper down the toilet. Now you can still use it, but they want you to wipe your ass and basically throw it into a trash can nearby. Also, sometimes if you're in an undeveloped part of Thailand, you'll have to use one of the squat toilets. So essentially, it's just, let me show you. It's basically like a little hole in the ground, and you're basically just squatting over it, and that's it. Like no toilet paper, nothing. You're just, I remember one time I had super bad diarrhea, and the only toilet I could find was one of those squat toilets. It was brutal. I actually had to take off all my clothes because I didn't want it spraying all over the place. And basically, the way those work too is they're like a manual flush based off of pressure or something. You have to grab a bucket of water and pour it in there, and the pressure kind of washes it out. It's a little bit weird. But yeah, those are pretty rare, I would say. Like I said, it's only in usually underdeveloped or small villages. Okay, so next up we got language. While some parts of Thailand can seem pretty foreign, if you stick to the main tourist spots, you shouldn't have any issue communicating with people. Their English is going to be good enough to get by, especially if you just need to do the basics. Grab a taxi, grab something to eat, and usually the menus and information is written in Thai and English, so you shouldn't have any issues. And even most passing travelers from other countries know a fair bit of English. It was actually surprising to me how common it is for people from a foreign country to speak one or two other languages. It definitely made me realize how Americans were lacking in their language skills, because I know most American travelers I met were just like me and only know English. Okay, ATMs. So ATMs are virtually everywhere. They're outside 7-Elevens, gas stations, just randomly on the streets and shopping malls. So there are no shortage of ATMs, even in some of the remote islands and spots in Thailand. The only issue is the withdrawal fee, which is about 220 baht, or about $6.50. So make sure you're drawing out large to avoid regular fees. I usually go for about 10,000 baht minimum when I withdraw. Okay, number 10, taxis. Taxis, taxis, taxis. You will end up using taxis and tuk-tuks a lot. Whether it's to travel around from hostel to hotel, or from the airport to where you're going, or just, you know, check out spots in general. These will end up eating up a lot of your money if you're not aware of it. And they can be one of the biggest upcharges and rip-offs if you're not careful. While $3 to $5 for a ride doesn't really seem like much, it's a huge rip-off if you know what the locals are paying, when they could be paying like 50 cents to $1 at most. So you will have to learn to bargain with the taxi driver or find a meter taxi. Meter taxis are usually pretty easy to spot because they have the lights in the front windshield. And they are going to charge you a set price. It's going to be the same that the locals pay, and it's going to be much cheaper than a non-meter taxi, for sure. So one piece of advice I would give is to definitely avoid taking a taxi straight off of a airplane or a bus, because those are the ones that are basically like vultures. They just sit there and they'll grab people in because they think it's their only option, and they'll end up paying 2 to 3 times as much for a taxi ride. So just walk off the strip a little bit, or you could also use Grab. Another good strategy for getting around is downloading the Grab app. It's basically like Southeast Asia's Uber, something like that. And they usually have pretty reasonable fares, and it's really easy to use. It's all written in English, no need to worry. Okay, so last but not least is the friendliness of Thailand. So the Thais are usually friendly, and they will usually go out of their way to help you if they can. And the same goes for the local tourists. I've met so many rad people at this point that I've traveled along with, and it's been a great experience. I think the fact that they're out here being free in a beautiful country definitely puts their mood in a really good place. So yeah, I've met nothing but awesome people pretty much my entire time traveling out here. Alright, so that's going to wrap it up for these first time traveler tips. And if you have any more questions or anything like that, toss me an email or a comment or some shit like that. And as always, make sure you dislike this video, unsubscribe, and get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. We're out.